Fox News is reporting that Bernie Sanders and his wife Jane have hired lawyers amid an FBI probe on their loan applications. So, it says that Senator Bernie Sanders and his wife have hired defense attorneys amid an FBI investigation or probe into a loan the senator's wife procured for Burlington College while she was school's president, according to news reports. Sanders, a Vermont independent, and wife Jane hired a legal team in connection to a 2010 loan application that Jane Sanders reportedly filed so the school could borrow $10 million to purchase 33 acres of land, as reported first by Politico. So, I'm going to be a bit nicer than a lot of people are, because a lot of people are saying, oh, look at this, Bernie Sanders is obviously a fraud, right? I'm going to be a little bit nicer, because I've always said, I'm gonna stand by it, I've always said innocent until proven guilty. So there hasn't been any proof of guilt, but, big but it wouldn't be surprising if he was guilty. Because Bernie Sanders, this is the guy who, after the campaign, the primary campaign, he kept on asking for donations. After the campaign, he kept on asking for donations. And even after, I believe even after he endorsed Hillary, he kept on asking for donations to his campaign. The campaign was over, and he kept on trying to get donations. So this guy is such a, he says that he's like I'm one of you guys, I'm an outsider. He's been a senator for decades. He's been in politics since like the 70s. This guy is not an outsider. And then he says, "Oh, I'm middle class. I'm like you guys." The guy owns like multiple houses, expensive houses, beach houses. It's like all an act. And then during the campaign, it was so embarrassing how he tried to like make himself seem like he was middle class, because he would like ride the subway and take the bus. Come on, that's so embarrassing. And then his supporters say like, "Oh man, this is our guy Bernie. He's above, he's above all of the petty politics of personality." This guy's all about personality. He rides the bus and takes the subway to make himself seem like he's middle class, even though he owns multiple mansions. And he says he's an outsider. He's been in politics for decades. I mean, it's like such an act. Like, the guy's a fraud, but his supporters, they can't see it because they're mesmerized by, what he says and what he says he supports. And some of it's okay. I mean, look it. I'm not totally anti Bernie Sanders, right? But I just think he's a fraud. I mean, he has some policy ideas that I agree with, but that's because they're the ones that are more populist, and those are the ones that Trump also says that he agrees with. But I feel like he probably does have some genuine beliefs, but I feel like in total, just in general, he's just a fraud, because he lies about his wealth. He lies about his time and his experience as a politician. So, I would not be surprised if he would actually commit fraud like this. And same with Jill Stein. Remember Jill Stein? How after the election, she was like, "You know what? I'm gonna do a recount. We're gonna do a recount. So I need all of the Jill Stein supporters in the world to donate to my website, JillStein.com." She did that for the recount, which was completely there was nothing came out of the recount, and everyone knew that. Like, everyone knew from the beginning, like she's gonna do the recount, and she hyped it up so much. She was like, "Oh, this is it, guys. We're gonna restore faith in our democracy. We're gonna make sure that democracy is safe with this recount." So she raised all that money, and then she did the recount, and then nothing changed. There was no, the recount amounted to nothing, and she just kept the money. She just kept the money. I mean, she's a total fraud, and so is Bernie Sanders. I mean, these people, like, people get so mesmerized by, like, their speeches and, like, their policies that they completely forget that, like, hey, they just want, like, your money. And then they go on and say, oh, I'm against greed. Now be sure to donate all of your money to me. There were people on Reddit, this is a hilarious story that I found, on Reddit, who were these Bernie Sanders supporters. And they donated every single penny to Bernie Sanders. They couldn't afford to eat and pay the bills and pay rent, but they would send all of their money to Bernie Sanders. I mean, that's funny, but it's also sad. I mean, it's sad that people actually do that because, I mean, I don't want to see them suffer. I want to see them actually afford food. But you're gonna go on and complain that you can't afford food, and you're gonna donate all your money to Bernie Sanders. You're gonna donate all your money to Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, he never really had a chance. I mean, look at, and I see the argument that, like, hey, you know, he's a populist and he's gonna get the, you know, he has a lot of appeal. I get that, but you're going up against Hillary Clinton. Hillary in a Democratic primary. I mean, your average Democratic voter is not a far left progressive like they make him seem. Like, and most of them don't even care about politics. They just think that, like, oh yeah, Hillary, you know, I know her. She's, you know, Bill Clinton's wife, and she was a senator and mayor, so, you know, yeah, Hillary. Like, Hillary, and so Bernie didn't really have a chance. Like, he got a pretty large amount of the vote. Congrats to him. He did a good job. But Hillary Clinton, who's like a celebrity, and who the entire party wanted, the entire establishment, I mean, the entire party establishment wanted her. It was pretty much hopeless. I mean, it really kind of was. I mean, at least on the Republican side, you had Donald Trump versus, like there was no Hillary Clinton on the Republican side. You can think about it, like, when it comes to, like, who's the legacy name, you had Jeb Bush, and Jeb Bush was never gonna win. I mean, Jeb Bush has no charisma. He has nothing. Jeb Bush is nothing. He's literally, I mean, I don't want to make fun of him too much because, like, he seems like a bit of a, I guess, kind of a good guy, even though he has no energy and he has no strength. But I mean, he had nothing. And then you had, like, Marco Rubio, who was, like, the establishment's, like, fallback choice. That he was like the new generation of the party, and then he wasn't, because he was pro amnesty. I mean, come on. Then you had Ted Cruz, who was, like, straight out of the 1980s. Then you had, like, who else? I mean, like, John Kasich, who nobody knew, who didn't really, like, have, like his message. John Kasich was just so awkward too. Like, he had no charisma. Like, he went from, like, trying to be like, oh, I'm the voice of reason, to, oh, I'm gonna be fiery and I'm gonna be tough on Trump. And then he became, like, the Messiah. He went around, like, hugging people and like and then he started to, like, eat things and then he dropped out. So John Kasich was never really an option. So, but yeah, what I was trying to say is that Bernie Sanders is a fraud. And by the way, you know what else is hilarious? Jane Sanders was president of a liberal arts college. Jane Sanders was the president of a liberal arts college. How predictable is that? Of all colleges, right? This could have been any college in the world. She was in charge of a liberal arts college. That's the kind of person who's gonna marry Bernie Sanders. That's the kind of person who's gonna marry Bernie Sanders, of all people. I mean, come on. That was just hilarious to me. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Bernie Sanders was the liberal arts candidate. I mean, he really was. I mean, people on the left say that Bernie Sanders is, he's such a refreshing. He's so anti-establishment, even though he was, a senator for decades, and he's not like all those crazy college kids. He's the liberal arts candidate. His wife runs a liberal arts college. And I mean, all the liberal arts kids loved Bernie Sanders too. Let's be honest. I mean, it was all college kids. Like, I don't know anyone over the age of like 30 who was gonna vote for Bernie Sanders. I mean, let's be honest. Even like Democrats, hardcore Democrats, like they was all college kids. Like it was like no appeal to anybody else. So I'm gonna let the investigation go. I'm not gonna try and say that Bernie's guilty yet. I'm gonna wait for the investigation to go on. I'm gonna wait for evidence to come out. But until then, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'll say, you know what, Bernie, I'll give you a chance.